Family, let me tell you something. Before God ever takes you to the mountain, He's going to walk you through the valley. Before the crown comes the cross, before the elevation comes the frustration, and before the destiny comes the danger. See, too many of us want the glory without the grind, the promise without the process. But God doesn't elevate you in comfort. He elevates you in conflict. The Bible is full. Joseph had to go through the pit and the prison before he ever sat in the palace. Daniel had to go into the lion's den before he saw God shut those mouths. And Jesus himself, he had to go through Calvary before he ever got a resurrection morning. So if you're in a dangerous season right now, if life feels shaky, uncertain, if the enemy is breathing down your neck, don't you dare think God has abandoned you. No, no, no! That's the very season He's preparing to elevate you. Because the dangerous season is not designed to destroy you, it's designed to develop you. And when God develops you, He sets you up to deliver His destiny for your life. So buckle up, because the very storm you're in today might just be the stage God is building for your tomorrow. When God allows you to walk into a dangerous season, it isn't because He has lost control. No, it's because He wants to show you that you never had control in the first place. Dangerous seasons strip you of the illusion that you can handle life all by yourself. They take away your crutches, they shake the ground beneath your feet, and they bring you face to face with your own limitations. And when that happens, you've got two choices. Either you keep leaning on yourself and fall flat, or you start leaning fully on God and discover a strength you never knew you had. You see, dependence on God isn't natural for us. We like to plan, to calculate, to strategize, to figure it all out on paper. But what do you do when the numbers don't add up? What do you do when your best effort still falls short? That's when you find yourself in a dangerous season. It might be danger in your finances, danger in your relationships, danger in your health, or danger in your own mind. And it's right there when you run out of answers that you discover the God who is the answer. The truth is, as long as you think you can manage life on your own, you will never fully lean on Him. That's why sometimes God has to put you in situations that are bigger than you. Think about Israel standing at the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army behind them, water in front of them, mountains on both sides. No escape, no cut plan, no way forward. That was a dangerous season. But it was also the moment they had no choice but to cry out to God. And when they did, He split the sea wide open. The danger became the setup for their deliverance. Joseph had to learn the same lesson. One moment he was his father's favorite son. The next moment he was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, falsely accused, and locked up in prison. Every season looked dangerous. Every chapter looked hopeless. But every dangerous season was pressing him into deeper dependence on God. Because when Joseph was finally elevated to second in command in Egypt, he could testify that it wasn't his wit or his wisdom that brought him there. It was the God who never left him, even in the danger. That's the pattern of the kingdom. God doesn't waste the dangerous seasons. He uses them to peel back every layer of self-sufficiency until you realize you cannot do life without Him. He'll let the money run low so you'll discover He's Jehovah Jireh, your provider. He'll allow people to walk out on you so you'll realize He's the friend that sticks closer than a brother. He'll allow doors to shut in your face so you'll discover He is the one who opens doors no man can shut. Dangerous seasons expose the idols we cling to, and they force us to turn to the only one who truly holds us together. Even Jesus modeled this dependence. In the Garden of Gethsemane, staring down the cross, He prayed, "Not my will, but yours be done." That was a dangerous season. Sweat like drops of blood, betrayal at hand, soldiers on the way. But that dependence on the Father gave Him the strength to endure Calvary and rise with all power in His hands. If Jesus Himself leaned fully on the Father in His most dangerous moment, how much more must we? So the next time you find yourself in a season that feels dangerous, don't just ask, "Lord, why is this happening?" Ask instead, "Lord, what are you teaching me to depend on you for right now?" Because every danger you face has a divine lesson attached to it. Maybe God is teaching you to trust Him with your future. Maybe He's teaching you to rest in His peace. Maybe He's teaching you that even if everyone else fails you, He never will. And when you come out of that dangerous season, you won't just come out with a testimony. You'll come out with a new level of faith. Because once you've learned that God is enough when nothing else is, You can face whatever lies ahead without fear. Dangerous seasons don't last forever, but the dependence they build will carry you for a lifetime. So don't despise the danger. Don't curse the season, because God may be using the very thing that scares you the most to show you that He is the one you can lean on the most. And when He brings you through, you'll know without a shadow of a doubt, it wasn't you, it was Him all along. God never wastes a trial. Every tear, every setback, every disappointment has purpose stamped all over it. When you belong to Him, nothing you walk through is random. The trial you're in today is the classroom He's using to prepare you for the promotion He has tomorrow. Elevation doesn't come without education, and God's curriculum is written in the language of trials. See, we like to think elevation is about the blessing, the spotlight, the recognition. But elevation is really about responsibility. It's about being trusted with more influence, more people, more impact. And before God puts you there, He's got to know you can handle it. How does He test that? By training you in the wilderness, by proving you in the fire, by molding you under pressure. Trials are not meant to break you. They're meant to make you strong enough for where He's taking you. Look at David. Before he ever held a crown, he was out in the fields holding a slingshot. He didn't just wake up one day and slay Goliath. God had been training him through smaller battles, fighting off lions and bears while tending sheep. Those trials in the field prepared him for elevation in the palace. The very skills he learned in obscurity were the ones God used to catapult him into destiny. That's how trials work. They may feel small, inconvenient, or even painful, but they are shaping muscles you'll need when God promotes you. Or consider Job. The man went through more trials than most of us could imagine. Loss of wealth, loss of health, loss of family. But in the end, Job received double what he had before. The trial wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. It deepened his faith, sharpened his perspective, and enlarged his capacity to handle more than he ever thought possible. What looked like construction was really construction. God was building him for a greater blessing. Even Jesus went through training. Scripture says He learned obedience through what He suffered. If the Son of God Himself had to endure trials as part of His preparation, how can we think we'll reach elevation without walking the same road? Suffering was His training ground for salvation's elevation. The cross was ugly, brutal, dangerous, but it was the only path to resurrection glory. And let me tell you something, trials have a way of revealing what you really believe. It's easy to say you trust God when the bills are paid, when your health is strong, when everyone loves you. But what happens when the bottom falls out? That's where the training kicks in. Trials strip away the fluff. They test your endurance, they test your faith, they test your character. They expose weaknesses so God can strengthen them, and they cultivate virtues you can't learn any other way. You can't learn patience if everything comes easy. You can't develop perseverance without pressure. You can't grow faith without facing fear. Trials are God's gym, and every rep builds spiritual muscle. You may walk into the season weak, but you'll walk out stronger, wiser, more resilient, and more prepared for the elevation God has in store. Some of you are frustrated because you feel stuck in the trial. But maybe the delay is part of the training. Maybe God is waiting until you've mastered the lesson before He releases the blessing. Because here's the truth. If He elevates you too soon, the very weight of the blessing could crush you. The crown looks good, but it's heavy, and only someone who has been trained by trials can carry it with integrity. So when you find yourself in the middle of hardship, don't just pray, "Lord, get loud, train me through." Ask Him to show you what He's building in you, because the trial isn't just about your survival, it's about your preparation. The higher the calling, the harder the training. That's why some of you feel like you're going through fire after fire. It's because God has a bigger stage for you, and He refuses to send you there unprepared. When it's all said and done, you'll look back at your trial and say, "If I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be ready for this." You'll thank God for the closed doors, the sleepless nights, the tears, because you'll realize every bit of it was training for your elevation. The trial was the tool, the pain was the preparation, and the setback was the setup for your comeback. So hold on, child of God. Don't quit in the classroom. Don't despise the process. Your trial today is the training ground for your triumph tomorrow. And when God finally elevates you, you'll be able to stand tall. Not because it was easy, but because you were trained for it through the fire. One of the biggest mistakes we make as believers is thinking that opposition means we're out of God's will. We assume that if life gets tough, if enemies rise up, if doors slam shut, it must mean we've done something wrong. But what if the exact opposite is true? What if opposition is not evidence of failure, but confirmation that you are on the verge of promotion? What if the very resistance you're facing is proof that the enemy sees where God is trying to take you? You've got to understand, Satan doesn't waste bullets on people who aren't a threat. If the enemy is coming after you hard, it's because he knows God is about to use you greatly. Hell doesn't bother to fight what heaven hasn't blessed. The more intense the opposition, the greater the indication that God has elevation on the horizon. That's why sometimes a storm gets strongest right before the breakthrough. Think about Joseph. As soon as his dream was revealed, his brothers hated him. The dream hadn't even come to pass yet, and already opposition rose up against him. Why? Because the dream was too big to leave unchallenged. The pit, the betrayal, the lies. All of it was opposition designed to stop what God had spoken. But every bit of opposition was also confirmation. It showed Joseph that his dream was powerful enough to be worth fighting against. And in the end, the very brothers who opposed him bowed before the fulfillment of that dream. Look at Nehemiah. When he set out to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, he faced constant opposition, mockery, threat, sabotage. His enemies tried to wear him down, distract him, and intimidate him. But Nehemiah understood something many of us forget. The attack was proof of the assignment. If he hadn't been building something significant, nobody'd have bothered to resist him. The louder the opposition grew, the clearer it became that his work was ordained by God. Even Jesus faced it. From the moment he stepped into public ministry, opposition followed him everywhere. Pharisees questioning him, crowds doubting him, religious leaders plotting against him. And when he was closest to his greatest promotion, when he was just days away from resurrection glory, the opposition was at its fiercest. Betrayal by Judas, denial by Peter, a trial, a beating, a cross. If Jesus himself had to endure that kind of opposition right before his elevation, why should we think we'll get a free pass? Here's the truth. Opposition is often the clearest sign that God's hand is on your life. The enemy only fights what he fears. So if you're being opposed, if people are rising against you, if life feels like an uphill battle, don't lose heart. Don't assume you've missed it. Lift up your head, because it may just mean your promotion is around the corner. And understand this, opposition just about blocking you. It's also about shaping you. The attacks you endure build endurance. The criticism teaches you to focus. The betrayal you to trust God above people. Every enemy that comes against you is, without realizing it, helping to push you closer to the throne God has prepared for you. Goliath was opposition, but without him, David never would have been promoted. Sometimes your enemies are actually the ones writing your resume for elevation. So instead of despising opposition, learn to discern it. When the pressure increases, ask yourself, what is this opposition confirming about my destiny? Don't get discouraged when people walk away, when critics rise up, when things get harder than you expected. That could be the enemy's way of signaling that God is about to shift you higher. The enemy tried to shut Daniel down by throwing him into a lion's den. That looked like defeat, but it became the very stage where God elevated Daniel in the eyes of a nation. The opposition was real, the danger was real, but the outcome was divine promotion. That's how God works. He'll take what the enemy meant for evil and flip it for your good, so that the thing designed to bury you becomes the thing that elevates you. So if you're facing opposition right now, don't panic, praise. Don't retreat, remain, don't give up, get grounded. Because opposition isn't always a sign that you're going the wrong way. Often it's proof that you're walking straight into God's promise. Promotion isn't cheap. Destiny isn't handed out without a fight. The battle is proof that you're carrying something valuable, and the struggle is evidence that something greater is on its way. So hold steady in the storm, endure the critics, outlast the attacks, because the very opposition you see today might just be God's confirmation that tomorrow He is about to elevate you beyond what you ever imagined. Everybody wants the mountain, but nobody volunteers for the valley. We all want the view, the victory, the visibility that comes with standing on top. But before you ever step into the sunlight of the mountain, You've got to learn how to survive the shadows of the valley. The valley is where God teaches you lessons the mountain could never teach. The valley is where your character is shaped, where your faith is stretched, and where your dependence on Him is deepened. Without the valley, the mountain will destroy you. But if you can survive the valley, you'll be ready to stand tall on the mountain. David knew this truth when he wrote, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." Notice he didn't say, "I'm stuck in the valley." He said, "I walk through." That means the valley isn't permanent. It's a passageway. It's not meant to bury you, but to build you. And once you've walked through the valley with God at your side, the mountain will never intimidate you. Think about Moses. Before he could lead Israel up Mount Sinai to receive God's law, he had to spend 40 years in the wilderness valley tending sheep. That valley season felt hidden, forgotten, unnecessary. But it was in that valley that Moses learned patience, humility, and how to hear the voice of God. Without the valley of Midian, Moses could never have stood on Sinai. The valley prepared him for the mountain. Or look at Joseph again. The palace was his mountain, but the pit and the prison were his valleys. And it was in those valleys that God taught him how to interpret dreams, how to manage resources, how to lean on divine wisdom when human wisdom failed. By the time Joseph reached his mountain, he wasn't just elevated, he was equipped. His valleys gave him what his mountain required. The same is true for you. If you're in a valley right now, it's not wasted time. The valley is your training ground. That heartbreak you survived, that loss you endured, that disappointment you pushed through, it wasn't for nothing. Those moments were chiseling away the old you and carving out the strength, resilience, and faith you'll need when God brings you to the top. You can't shortcut the valley. If you skip the valley, you won't survive the mountain. Because here's the reality. The mountain is glorious, but it's also dangerous. Success can be seductive. Elevation brings exposure, and exposure brings pressure. Without the humility forged in the valley, the mountain can make you arrogant. Without the dependence built in the valley, the mountain can make you self-sufficient. Without the endurance grown in the valley, the mountain can make you crumble under the weight of responsibility. That's why God doesn't rush you out of the valley. He keeps you there until you're ready, because He knows the mountain will require everything you've learned in the dark. Jesus Himself walked through the valley. Before He ascended the mountain of glory, before resurrection morning, there was a garden called Gethsemane. There was a cross on Calvary. There was a tomb sealed with stone. Those were valley places. Lonely, painful, suffocating. But because He survived them, He rose with all power. The valley didn't defeat Him. It prepared Him for a name above every name. So don't despise your valley. Don't curse the season you're in. You may feel hidden, overlooked, stuck in shadows while others shine. But understand this. The valley is not your enemy. It's your preparation room. It's where God gets you ready for what He's already prepared for you. And when the time comes, He will bring you out of that valley and place you on the mountain. Not because you climbed it in your own strength, but because you survived the shadows with Him by your side. And here's the good news. When you finally stand on the mountain, you won't forget the valley. You'll carry its lessons, its strength, its wisdom with you. You'll be able to say, if God was faithful in the shadows, He'll be faithful in the sunlight. You'll be able to handle success without it handling you, because you'll know it wasn't your talent or your hustle that brought you here. It was God's hand guiding you through the valley all along. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep holding on in the valley, because every step you take in the shadows is preparing you for the summit. Survive the valley, and the mountain will not only be yours to climb, it will be yours to conquer. Family, don't you see it now? The very season you thought was designed to take you out is the same season God is using to lift you up. The danger didn't come to destroy you. It came to develop you. The trial didn't come to weaken you. It came to train you. The opposition didn't come to block you. It came to confirm the promotion God already has written in heaven's calendar. And the valley, the valley was never your final address. It was only preparation for the mountain that's waiting for you. So stop running from your dangerous season. Stop despising the pain, the pressure, the problems. Instead, lean into God like never before. Depend on Him in the pit. Trust Him in the prison. Hold fast when the lions roar. Walk steady when the shadows surround you. Because every dangerous step you take with him is a step closer to your destiny. Remember this. Joseph's pit became his palace. David's valley became his victory. Daniel's lions became his testimony. And Jesus' cross became his crown. And if God did it for them, he can do it for you. So lift up your head, child of God. Wipe your tears. Straighten your back. Because the dangerous season you're in right now is not the end of your story. It's the stage God is building for your elevation. And when he raises you up, everybody who doubted you will know it wasn't your strength, your hustle, or your strategy. It was the almighty hand of God taking you from the valley to the valley, from the trial to the triumph, from the danger to your destiny. Hold on. Trust him. Survive the season, because your elevation is closer than you think.